as introduced by Sutta. This is the first Dhamma talk. So today onward, each day we will be having time about 1 hour to 1 hour, 1 hour and 30 minutes, starting from 1:30 talk, and on each talk you will get a chance to put that into a discussion in the evening at 8 o'clock. So for you all, I selected one particular discourse from the Buddha that if you are interested in to find the reference, you can go to the Samyutta Nikaya, the concise discourses. It has about 8,000 odd number of discourses. This is you find in subsection called Satipatthana Samyutta. The particular sutta is known as Sedaka Sutta. The nomenclature or the naming of Sedaka is because the Buddha delivered this talk in this village, namely the Sedaka. So in the Sedaka village, when we were there had been a chance where the Buddha is meeting with the ordained monks, nuns and the devotees, male, female. And there one day he addressed the group and told, "O monks, there was an acrobat that he was trained, an apprentice. Both of them are going to a common place and show their acrobats and earn something for their livelihood. So both of them go there, and then the teacher, he told that I will balance a bamboo pole." I hope that you understand what does it mean by bamboo. Bamboo pole on my shoulder, and you, apprentice, carefully, in a balanced way, climb upon this acrobat, the bamboo pole, and top of that you have to balance yourself, and that is the acrobat we are going to show to the common people, and if they are happy, they will give something, and that is our livelihood. So, making himself prepared and balancing the bamboo pole upon his own, the teacher's shoulder, he instructed his apprentice, or the disciple, or the apprentice, you may climb on this bamboo pole and balance yourself, and when you go and receive the balance, got the balance, please protect me, and I also will try to protect you. So protecting mutually each other, we will continue the acrobat without damaging ourselves, and please the people surrounded and get the fee, and carefully you may get down. That is what the teacher mentioned. And then the wise apprentice, he told, "Oh my dear teacher, this is not the way. When I go there and got my balance, you take care about your balance, I will take care about my balance, and by taking care of own balance, we are helping each other. That is the way it has to happen." So this is just a narration the Buddha is depicting. And then taking this dialogue, taking this discussion, the Buddha says, the latter one, what the disciple says, is the way, what the Buddha is recommending. That is, by protecting oneself, by safeguarding oneself, one can safeguard others. There is no other way. And presenting this philosophical idea or this thesis, the Buddha says, if you people are willing to have your own protection, willing to get this safeguarding oneself, you have to practice mindfulness or the diligence. This particular sutta, the Sedaka Sutta, namely, it is, this is the way the Buddha giving the value of the mindfulness for one's own security, safeguarding and protection. And of course the sutta is going little more detail, So for today's talk, the first talk, I thought this as the topic that if someone wishes to have one's own protection or safeguard, he or she has to develop mindfulness. As I already mentioned, this particular sutta is in Pali, Attana bhikkhave rakkisami iti satipatthana sevitabba. Or bhikkhu or monks, if you are towards the protection of oneself, I will declare, I will recommend you, you have to protect mindfulness. You have to practice mindfulness. That is the Pali term. There the direct attribution is given to the mindfulness, but anyway, I ask your permission to use the mindfulness as well as the diligence to be treated as equal meaning or synonyms. If I am to add yet another thing, mindfulness, the diligence or vigilance. The term mindfulness even appear in the sutta is known as sati. Sati is the Pali term. Sanskrit it is called smruti, and English rendering is weakly rendered. It is to the mindfulness. I am dead sure the comprehensive meaning of sati is not well translated into English by using the term mindfulness. But in order to prevent that lost, if at all, happen due to the translation, I would like to take yet another equal Pali term known as appamada. The appamada is translated into English as diligence. Whenever I am delivering a talk to the people, those who are not acquainted with these Pali terms, or the terms like mindfulness, I mean technical term, or sati in Pali, or appamada in Pali, or in translated in English as diligence, if they are not much acquaintance, I have to find some other easy access to grasp the meaning of these terms. Then only we can go into deep by one's own practice as well as to this theory or book knowledge or theoretical understand, and see the relationship and network throughout the discourses delivered by the Buddha. So therefore, I would rather start with, not with the appamada, but with pamada. Appamada is translated as diligence, pamada is the opposite, it is called negligence. The Buddha says our own protection, our safeguard is being vulnerable, not being strong because we are negligent. Whenever we understand our own negligence and instead take a vow, take a determination to develop, to cultivate the diligence, the opposite of it, that is what we call the cultivation of mindfulness or satipatthana. And I would rather say this is the crux of the teaching of the Buddha. Why I am telling like that is, the Buddha, as a historical man, lived in India in the Ganges Valley for 45 years according to the historical literature, and during the 45 years he would have delivered uncountable amount of talks and discussions and events. But the first synod, the first gathering of the enlightened monks, 500, wanted to make it canon, make it as authentic teaching. So in the first conference, they sum up as much as possible, according to their existing memory, up to 15,000 odd number of suttas or number of discourses. The main tape recorder was Venerable Ananda. He was the proximate disciple and the attendant to the Buddha at least continuously for 20 years out of this 45 years. So he remembered as much as possible, and then recited in front of all the fully enlightened other monks after the great demise of the Buddha, and they authenticated this as the real teaching of the Buddha. Venerable Ananda himself says, as the authentic, proximate, immediate disciple, he says, the last word of the Buddha before his final great passing away, appamadena bhikkhave sampadetha vaya dhamma sankhara. O monks, fulfill your duties diligently. All the conditioned things are subject to change. So there are also the appamada, term appamada, or this diligence is been highlighted. So therefore, if you wish to put the whole teaching into a nutshell, and personally I would like to put it into this term, appamada. But definitely when you go through the existing present day literature, you will not agree with me, because for the last 200 odd years, English people, when they go to Sri Lanka, and they were fairly inquisitive as to see what is the consistent and historical teaching these people in the island are adherents. And they found the Buddhism. And the whole English people invaded Sri Lanka and taking the Sri Lanka as then it was Ceylon, namely Ceylon, and it was taken thinking these people are barbaric and they are not the follower of the God, so therefore they wanted to know what is the type of teaching they are following. But it was consistent. So what they did was, first, luckily, studied what the religion then practiced by the Sri Lankans. And that is how the Pali Text Society come into being. And very great scholars and good educated people have put forth their effort to understand the Pali text. Pali text means the teaching of the Buddha, and ultimately the Pali Text Society come into being. I think that the library we have a copy, and they are Rhys Davis is the most appreciable character in this Pali Text Society business, and ultimately she wanted to put all the teaching of the Buddha into nutshell, and ultimately she got lost, and ultimately she told, very difficult to see and concise all the teaching into one, because that when you are scrutinizing, you can see, you can reduce and say it is the Four Noble Truths, or you can say it is the dependent origination, or you can say it is three trainings, or you can say get rid of this desire, hatred and ignorance. So much of perspective. So ultimately she, giving this all the perspective, she told, very difficult to put into a nutshell, I think, because she never practiced herself. She went through only the literature and did the genuine job, and ultimately lost in the whole ocean of Dhamma. But when you are going to put into practice, that's why I am telling, I preserve my opinion. As far as the practicing or practical Dhamma is concerned, you can reduce it to appamada or Radha Satipatthana. So that is why I selected this particular sutta to share with you all during this time of retreat, to see from the practitioner's point of view, from the pragmatic point of view, practical point of view. And in that sense, the Buddha says, as far as you are diligent, as far as you are mindful, as far as you are vigilant, you are protecting yourself. That is the way you on the top of the bamboo tree and maintain your balance and protecting your teacher and her teacher's shoulder. So, as I mentioned today, I would take the first part how the Satipatthana, the establishment of mindfulness, or the diligence going to protect you. So, as far as this Appama, the term Appama or the diligence is concerned, introducing this very term, the Buddha put into threefold practice, or practically divided this Appamada into threefold manner that we call moral restrainment, concentration restrainment, and wisdom restrainment. That means Sila Sikha in Pali, Samadhi Sikha and Panya Sikha. The Sila Sikha is dealing with about one's physical and verbal deeds. That is to say, getting rid of physical, verbal misdeeds and practicing appreciation of physical and verbal good deeds. Once that is completed or understood, at least in the theoretical way, and once you gain certain amount of ground, at least on the deductive knowledge or in the inferential knowledge, you can put into practice while practicing this moral restrainment. That means after acquaintance with your getting rid of physical and verbal misdeed, you can go further and think about the mental culture, mental training or meditation. That very meditation, even though it is tackling only the one aspect, or that means the culturing of the mind, cultivation of the mind, that has twofold approach, the starting with concentration training and then go to the wisdom training. Before step into this threefold training, I would like to mention that before the appearance of the Buddha or the great enlightenment of the Buddha, in Indian background, prehistoric background, the scholars and the practitioners already understood the value of the moral restrainment. Even though it is not exactly coinciding with what the Buddha prescribed, there were some moral conduct. Therefore, eternalism, people who practice eternalism, the accepting an atta or self or soul or everlasting soul, they told good begets good, bad begets bad. Therefore, if you do something bad, definitely you have to bear the consequences. So partly it is addressing to this ethical part, your social behavior and expressive character of your verbal and physical, and addressing to this moral restrainment. And there were some good teachers, even the Siddhartha Tapasa or the Buddha as a Buddha to be, Bodhisattva, he seek assistance from his childhood up to the age 29 and past. He found good teachers, those who have already reached some stages of moral restrainment. That is how these teachers, before his enlightenment, he acquainted with some teacher. They had some even concentration training and some achievements too. And Buddha appreciated them, even after his enlightenment. But, being good disciple and following the good teachers, he restrained himself physical and verbal conduct, and following his good benevolent teaching, the Buddha to be, as a Bodhisattva, himself cultivated some concentration training and got some results, but still he left the teachers, still he went forth for the quest of truth. King Satcha Gavesi or King Kusala Gavesi, in search of truth. That means even before his full enlightenment, though he practiced and appreciated this moral training and the concentration training, he was not happy. He was not contented. That is how he left the good teachers and went himself, and therefore the point I am going to make is his genuine intrinsic presentation to the humankind is the wisdom training. Wisdom training is the peak. So, though we as the beginners or as a start to understand the teaching, start with the moral training and the concentration training, and the culmination as the wisdom training, we have to understand the Buddha's the genuine contribution, genuine discovery is the wisdom training. But very difficult one to go directly into that, unless otherwise the proximate causes, the immediate factors are to be fulfilled. If it is immediate factors are not fulfilled, even though appreciate, even though you wish and have the desire to go to the wisdom, it is difficult. So therefore, we have to start with this moral training, concentration training and the wisdom training. That is why I thought of starting with this moral training and discussing this moral training. The moral training is, as already I mentioned, it is the physical and verbal conducts. Before the retreat, today morning, we administered 8 precepts, and each and every one of us got the vow, determination. During this retreat, I will take the vow not to kill, not to steal, not to have any sexual conduct or rather observation of celibacy, and no verbal misdeeds, and not entertaining and the indulgence of this dancing and all the kind of sensuous pleasure. So this is what the physical meaning or the real practical meaning of the moral restrainment. So how this moral restrainment going to protect oneself? The Buddha explaining this, he says, he whoever not concerned about killing, not concerned about stealing, not concerned about celibacy or sexual misconduct, not concerned about his or her verbal deeds and entertaining sensuality, rather go to the sexuality and then taking alcohol and intoxicant and all the kind of thing. Definitely whenever they become isolated, go to a dark place, close their eyes, they are going to get their own self-criticism. Therefore the tension arises. Therefore the negative feeling arises towards oneself. This will not be much noted in your prime time of your life, in 20s and 30s. 40s, you are about to feel them, and 50s, 60s, whenever your eyes are not going to do proper vision, when the ears are becoming dull, nose, the tongue, the body, and ultimately you will be cornered, you will be outcasted from the society, and you will be in the sick bed or disabled situation, and there you are mostly confined to oneself, and that is the time you are going to get this self-criticism. And that is too late. That is why you have to be diligent. Negligence means you keep on indulging as young people. You have all the energy, you have the time, you have all the money, and the whole world, the mass media and advertisement, the consumerization, everything inviting you to, why not go ahead and indulge. But if you do not know the limit, if you are going to go for luxuries, if you are going to go for the extravagance, if you are going to go for this consumerization, ultimately being passing the utility value, going to the unwanted things, you may knowingly or unknowingly disturbing other psychologies. you may knowingly or unknowingly disturb the environment. Ultimately, when you become sick or weak or kind of thing, these all repercussions bound to come, and there the self-criticism is the first curse, cursing oneself, and whatever the protection you have, whatever the money you have, whatever the degrees or knowledge or anything you have, nothing protect yourself. Whenever you become unto yourself, the self-criticism comes. So therefore, don't wait till you go to that old age and disabled situation or weak situation. Listen to the Buddha, take his advice and try and see to introduce this without a delay. Introducing means don't kill, don't steal, don't have all the what I listed before. So if you are diligent in doing it, even just like in your prime age, young age, even your old age, you have a self-satisfaction. Even when I had the chance, I never trespass, transgress the social norms or interfered into the other psychologies, never disturb the environment unnecessarily for the self-indulgence or sensuous indulgence. So therefore, you can have your self-contentment, and the Buddha says that is the way you are protecting yourself. And I think present day, especially countries like this, this is much more applicable than the other places and other times. So therefore,
so one small question. You said not to disturb the environment. Does it mean plants and water and things like that, or the relationship with human beings or animals? Or
the environment means the living and non-living everything.
Living and non-living.
Yeah. So this way, if someone is little careful and listening to Dhamma and take care about restraining oneself or disciplining oneself and culturing oneself unto the or up to the moral conduct, the Buddha assured you can at least alleviate or get rid of this self-curse. It is called Attanuvada Baya. In Pali it is called Attanuvada Baya, the self-criticism. And recent studies and recent, especially Buddhist master, they say people are going for these addictions basically in order to get rid of this Attanuvada Baya or self-criticism. So whenever they become isolated or cornered, they seek the refuge of alcohol or drugs or whatever may be, hobbies, whatever may be the thing, to keep their mind amused. And I would rather put it this way, to not to be here and now. To dislodge the mind situation, we seek 1001 ways and means, and even then the desperate situation, the pathetic situation is there. And world organizations, governments and social welfare beings are finding and experimenting 1001 methods to give an answer for that. But the Buddha is very smiling and simply and single way, he says, not a single outsider can do it unless otherwise that particular person has self-love and that particular person has already implemented this moral conduct or moral restraint. That is what the silent sermons the Buddha has shown by his character and taught. This is 1/4 of the benefits. The second thing is, even though whenever these bad consequences become more prominent and heavy, you can postpone them, escape from them through these addictions and all the kind of juggleries. The outside wise people may accuse you telling, having had such a good, nice human life, that particular person misused it and therefore ultimately disturbed others, disturbed the society, disturbed the environmental unity, he himself is or herself is disturbed. Therefore, even though you can escape from the situation by these addictions and other sort of thing, the external world going to criticize you. That means the genuine, noble people will criticize you, telling that you misuse the chance. So on the other hand, you may lose the chance to get their blessings or get their teachings or get their acquaintance. They will not be happy to acquaint with you if you have not taken this moral conduct as such. So therefore, second thing is paranuvada baya. It compares attanuvada baya, self-criticism. Second one is the criticism coming from the outside world. 2 points. The third one is danda baya. Not only that, if you are still keeping on in an aggressive way, one day you will get caught up in the civil law. And there you will be put into the case, and if you are going to lose, put into the jail and punishment and all the kind of civil police and jurisdictional ways. And therefore he who is herself not confident, not sure about one's own moral conduct, always, even though not caught up yet in the penal code or moral, the social setup, social norms, that fear is there. In contrast, person who has already taken this moral conduct, physical and verbal conduct, even such another person play a racket and put he or she into the jail, they never worry. They know this is something unjust. I have never committed this thing, so never mind. Whatever they are doing unfair, that is never mind. But his or her confidence will never isolate himself. So therefore, the people, those who have moral integrity, moral responsibility, they will never go for self-criticism. They will not be exposed to the criticism from the noble beings, good friends. Will not face these court cases and all the social bodies. So that is the way he or she can live the life more vigilantly, more diligently. These three are pragmatic and one-to-one relationship. On top of that, the Buddha is giving yet another one. He says, if you are going to reborn, if you are accepting this rebirth, definitely you have to face the consequences. You have to go to the nether world without any help. All what we have done in this world will be completely invalid there, and ultimately you will fall down just like falling down from a cliff. Head down, legs up, and will thrash down. Even before such a thing happened, the culprits, those who don't care about the physical and verbal deeds, they are always boiling, they are always tormenting just by thinking. So that is why the Buddha says, he who ever have no concern about this physical and verbal deeds, they are always vulnerable, unprotected, and therefore whatever the external wealth and kind of thing, never going to help, and their mentality will be, not only the physicality, even the mentality will be sick, or bias, or imbalance. So that is why the Buddha says, please, if you have any kind of loving kindness to oneself, if you are concerned about the well-being of oneself, and only thing you have to take care about is the diligence, mindfulness, and not negligence toward the moral responsibilities. But when someone is in the very young prime age, these appear like very elderly and philosophical things, and they think that once we become elderly, we will practice it. Now we have to go for self-indulgence and sensuous indulgence. So therefore these kind of instructions, these kind of teachings, philosophies, they don't like. So ultimately what happens is, become too late to get them and practice them, and therefore going to get, even they are practicing it at the latter part of the life, they will get the due amount of results, but I regret telling that how nice had we incorporated this thing in our early part of our life. To understand this, to communicate this, I would like to relate one incident where my teacher, Pandita, one day he has come to America and given a talk, not only a talk, a retreat, and it happened him to tell them and teach them the karma and karma result theory. Good begets good, bad begets bad. My teacher was a very respectful person and came after an invitation. So therefore the practitioners, they made up their mind to at least accept this on theoretical basis. What you are confronting now is the consequences of your past. So therefore, if you wish a happy future, take care about your physical, verbal and mental deeds, specifically the physical and verbal, and therefore accepting this karma theory is good on the theoretical basis. And the second thing is, as a consequence of the karma and karma theory, you are going to get as far as you are not going to get enlightened, fully enriched in life, you are going to get now new births, and there also the future will be decided according to your present deeds. This is one part of his teaching. The second thing, he says, the Buddha, in his general prescriptions, he has mentioned, if you take ideal or standard life of 100 years of life, he says it can cut it to 10-year pieces. The very first one is Manda Dasaka, and the second thing is Krida Dasaka, third one is Varna Dasaka, fourth one is household. So that means of 10 years you are just lying down on your back and just a baby. The second 10 years tend to, that means teenage, the playful, always you are playing. The third one is you are concerned about your beauty and concerned about the opposite sex. And the fourth one is generally according to the value of the day at that time, entering into the household life and raising children. And beyond 40 only, your mind become mature enough to understand or see through the world. That means your faculties become full prime age. The eye, ear, nose, tongue and all those things will be, and the brain also will be ready to accept any kind of a deep philosophies. So, one person has listened very carefully, and he was happy that he came to know these kind of things from the side of, and he has mentioned attending to a retreat also, quite meditorial thing, and listening this kind of thing and restraining yourself is a skillful thing. So therefore, please take care about your well-being and follow these things. And then he says, Sayadaw means a great teacher. I can't really completely comprehend the idea about this karma and karma theory, but you being a respectful person, I accept it. And the second thing also you say in the way of life, we to understand the depth of this life, we have to pass 40s. So, and you says, we are now accumulating merits. So if you allow me to make a vow, make a wish, I will make a wish. Out of my merits, may I be a human in the next life, may I born directly at 40s. Because up to the 40s, everything unsettled. That is the way they understand. So, it is a really revolutionary when you take this Dhamma into the heart, and our all prospects and all our gains, all our earnings and everything, we have to measure not only from the physicality point of view, we have to give kind of philosophical or religious or spiritual values. When you put that into, everything appear completely different perspective. So that is how one has to rethink, wait and see, wait and ponder, wait and macerate and eat and chew and get the sap of Dhamma, then completely new way of approach to your life. So this much is I explain only as far as this moral conduct is concerned. This in the Dhamma jargon or in the Buddhist technical terms, it says abhaya. Bhaya means the fear. As far as you are not morally, moral integrity is there, if you are not concerned and not sound, you are proliferating and propagating is the fear to the others, and in return you are also going to get the fear. Killing means propagation of fear to the others, stealing, sexual misconduct, verbal misdeeds, alcohol, all the kind of thing is propagating and proliferating the fear. But in return, you are also going to get the fear. So therefore, instead the fear, if you are going to give the well-being of the others, if you are going to wish the well-being of the others, not to kill anyone, not to misappropriate or steal something, not to indulge misconduct as far as the sensuality and sexuality is concerned, and intoxication and kind of thing, by just mere giving non-fear or abhaya, in return what you get is abhaya. That is what Buddha paraphrased, Dhammo have rakhati dhammachari. He whoever protecting this Dhamma of diligence will be protected by Dhamma. If you are not protecting this very Dhamma of mindfulness and the diligence, at least up to the moral conduct, you are vulnerable, you are exposed, you are not going to get the Dhamma protection or protection from this natural law. So, other religions always put this into the personality view. They thought there's the cursor, the prime cause, the original cause, and the omnipotent, omnipresent God. Instead, the Buddha said this is the law of the nature. If you are violating it, you are violating nothing but your own peace of mind, your own well-being. So knowing, since it is exposed by this great wisdom, if you behave accordingly, accordance to the nature of law or Dhamma, the Dhamma will protect you. So that is the way the Buddha employ his great compassion to the listeners. But not only the Buddha's Maha Karuna or the compassion enough, the listeners themselves also should have compassion to oneself as well as the wisdom to digest it in the proper way. Even then, even if you have your idea about the well-being, even if you have the appreciation of this Dhamma, or appreciation of the at least universal law, you not only that you have to put into practice. And you will come out and say, how can I practice this not killing in this world because people are unconcerned about killing? How can I live in this world without misappropriation? The present system, present economy is a kind of exploitation. And you can say the whole world and the whole economic, political and social criterion to measure whether someone is or country is developed or not, measured by the sensuality and sexuality. Being so, how can I, as an individual, a single being, practice this in this prevailing circumstances of sensuality and sexuality? And the mass media, without any kind of hesitation, they are completely bending the truth. We are completely succumb to that situation. Being so, how can we get rid of this? How can we ourselves live in this truth? And the intoxication, not only through the alcohol, not only the drugs, many ways people found the self-amusement or escapism. So being so, how can I myself do it? So that is why the Buddha mentioned, even though we have the self-compassion or self-welfare is being considered, and if you understand and value the teaching of the Buddha, those who have this kind of parallel ideas must get together. And be unto each other a mirror and associate good friends. Again and again you have to be acquainted with that. Otherwise you will be single-fold and you will find this very difficult. So that is why the Buddha says, meeting with the noble friend, association with the noble friend is 100% of your spiritual life. That is why we people get together under one roof and take this as a prime important thing to be a mirror to each other and try our best to keep mindfulness and the vigilance. So, single aspect of this moral conduct itself is really making the society a good place, and we can concern about the well-being. But as I mentioned, this was already accepted and tested aspect even before the emergence of the Buddha. But I accept this is a great situation. You want to take a decision, firm decision and determined decision, whatever may be the world. So I must take care about myself. The Venerable Dhammajiva, the person who founded this place as well as our monastery, he used to say, even the 99% population is going to say this is the popular idea, this is the consent. If I know it is not, even the whole world is going to go against me, I will not follow the common idea. I take my own care. So in that sense, I am revolutionary. I will be going against the grain, against the society, because I am a follower of the Buddha. So determined, he says, I am not worried about the majority of votes or democratic weighing on this aspect. I have my own share, I have my own well-being concern, and therefore I do my own determination and go. I mean, these kind of people are very rare, and that is why we, the followers, got the opportunity to practice even in this way. And among all that kind of revolutionary people, the Buddha was the first and foremost and laid down the proper foundation. And even then you see each of us has the heavy decision-making process to be diligent and to be mindful and at least be concerned about this moral conduct. And once you come up with this moral conduct, definitely I will redefine it. That means taking care about your physical and verbal deeds, not to transgress the social norms. So this kind of behavior cut off certain amount of defilements in your character. Therefore the Buddha says, as far as you are negligent regarding physical and verbal deeds or moral integrity, you are always engrossed with the transgressional kind of defilements. As far as you are taking care about the moral integrity and take care about the physical and verbal misdeeds and try to do the good, this transgressional kind of defilements will be cut off. That is why you will be protected by Dhamma. That is the way it is going to show you pragmatically and practically that you are with less amount of burden. I would say lack of fear or reduction of fear. But that is not the ultimatum. And not only that, once you be free of this transgressional kind of fear, transgressional kind of defilements, you are bound to see the inner layer as to who am I. Otherwise you are engrossed with the social pressure, the blame from the others, and the fear of the penal code, and fear of after the death, and all the kind of thing. Once that is cleared off successfully, then only you are bound to see the inner layer of who am I. That Buddha says another kind of defilements cause not the transgression, it is obsessional kind of defilements. As far as your mind is puddled and muddled and clouded with this transgressional kind of thing, you will never see, you will never be interested in as to see who am I. But when you come acquaintance with the noble teachers, noble friends, and spiritual kind of thing, your attention is automatically drawn to see who am I. And as far as you are not cleared, as far as you are disciplined, as far as you are refined regarding this outermost layer of the transgressional kind of defilements, you can understand what is happening. Situation is rather beyond control. But once you discipline yourself for the theoretical sense, if you discipline, you are bound to see the inner layer. Inner layer is another kind of defilement called obsessional kind. They are not yet transgressed. Therefore, these obsessional kind of defilements, even though you possess it, others can't see it. They appear like something like emotions, even less than emotions. But you yourself can understand, even though I am not transgressing up to the sexual misconduct, the sexual lust, the desire is inside the mind. Once in a way it takes an upper hand, and then sometimes it is suppressed. And even though you are not killing and stealing, the hatred is there. Once in a way it takes an upper hand, come up to the surface and disappears. And sometimes become mind very slimy, lethargic, sloth and torpor and sleepy. You can't make it awake, a child. Once in a way it comes beyond your control and again goes underneath. And the doubting mind, perplexity, worries, these things are coming beyond your control. Earlier, they would have come, but they were engrossed with this transgressional kind, so you can't make it out. Once the transgressional kind is somewhat tackled, maybe for a little while, maybe, and then you can see underneath there is another layer. Again, to make a contrast, you can say whenever you are transgressing, the outside second person can see and point it out. But when the obsessional kind happens, unless otherwise you become diligent, you can't study them. Or rather you can't take it under control. You can't master them. So you can't control them. Therefore you have to understand, from morning to evening, even though we have our own plans and our own future plan and all the kind of thing, at the end of the day, we reflect it back and see what is the agenda, or what is the real thing is driving our day-to-day decision-making process. We each and everyone wish to take it under control. Even though you restrain yourself with the physical and verbal deeds, there's another subtle force working. You can only see, but you can't control. Whenever you see, you become discouraged. You will be desperate and see, what is that after all, that I make my whole kind of planning and all the kind of, but the things happen by their own accord, and ultimately all the appointments are going to end up with disappointments. So therefore many people, even though they have taken the bold decision to make the moral restraint, whenever they see it, there are obsessional kind of defilements, and the inner layer of the mind, they get scattered, desperate, and they give up and say, no, this is not, as a human being I can't control it. It appears like controlled by a divine beings, something beyond our control. So therefore many give up. There are also, I would say, if you are really associating noble friends, those who have an acquaintance, and those who have the systematic approach about this, they would say that the discipline toward the moral conduct never give any beneficial effect towards this obsessional defilement. For that you have to have a separate training, you have to have a separate prescription, that have a separate behavior, then only you can comprehend. Then only you can see not only the tip of the iceberg, you can see the iceberg as such. Tip is only 1/10. Another 9 is underneath. So moral conduct, we can say, control about this glittering and glistering, outer or only the tip of the iceberg. But when you are going to remove one by one, something coming from down. Something coming, the bigger chunk is coming slowly. And there you must have a real boldness, the real heroic effort, or to face the situation. For that, the moral conduct or moral training also give kind of a confidence, but I would rather say it is not enough. Still you have to have good friends, or good association, those who are not only geared towards the moral conduct, but they must be geared to see these obsessional kind of defilements, and they should have the map in their hands, and they are ready to do trial and error method. I don't see any religion has mapped it or made a decision to take care about this, the obsessional kind of defilements. And in Samatha Bhavana, or in the concentration training, or in the kind of meditation, go for this calming down the mind, is aimed at this. But even then, of course I should have mentioned this at the end of the talk, but I am telling you, even then that the concentration training only can suppress them, not eradicate them. But suppressing itself is a great achievement, because throughout the samsara, or throughout the since time unknown, we were under the influence of it, and ultimately desperately and disappointed, but now we are going to do it. Even the suppressing of, taking under control is a great achievement. And before the Buddha, prehistoric area people was so happy just by suppressing it, and thought beyond that is definitely up to the omnipotent God. Suppressing is the ultimate thing the human can do. And therefore they never imagined about going beyond. That is why I told the Buddha to be, the Bodhisattva, managed to not only restrain their the moral conduct, physical and verbal, he managed to see and somewhat suppress this obsessional kind of defilements. But he managed to still see there's another layer underneath, and that was the main theme for him. That is why he became a genius. But this calm meditation, concentration meditation. And this one is aiming not the deepest layer, not that the most superficial layer. It is dealing with this obsessional kind of defilements, and the Buddha defined them as 5 hindrances. Kamachanda, Vyapada, Tina Midda, Uddhacha, Kukkucha, Vichikicha. Kamachanda means the sense pleasure, so sense desire. Vyapada means the hatred, the ill will. Tina Midda means the sloth and torpor. Uddhacha, Kukkucha, the remorse and the perplexed mind. And the Vichikicha is the doubt. So, in sitting meditation, when we are focusing our attention, for example, to the breath, or when we are trying to get the touch of the foot, when we are in the walking meditation, under your very nose, this is what we do. So let me explain little bit, because it will helpful for you to, I hope, to redefine your meditation in sitting and walking specifically. In sitting, you are supposed to sit comfortably, so that no intention. Body will take care about itself. The eye faculty is closed physically, and human beings can't close the ear, so they have to go to a silent place. And don't entertain smelling and tasting, and don't adjust your body, don't change your body posture. Just keep it like a pyramid or an anthill, so that give a maximum comfortability as to balance, symmetric, relaxed way. I would say for a beginner that itself will take more than 1 week to make yourself comfortable. You don't know your balance. You don't know the relaxation, because it has been so much tensed. You never be happy by relaxation. You will be happy only by tensing, by programming, by stereotyping yourself. But whenever relaxation happens, it is an art. Mind you, it is not a science. So therefore you have to do 1001 time just to relax. The best example is the child. If you look at a child, they are completely in relaxation. If you go to an aquarium and see fish, in complete relaxation. If you associate a cat and see, complete relaxation. That's why they don't entertain any tension. For them no cancer also. Nothing. But we, so much cramped and trained and restrained and kind of thing, even if we get the silent place and closed eyes and kind of relaxation itself takes a lot of time. So I would say, the moment you be with here and now, here now I am sitting, I would say it's a great achievement. Even for myself, now I have been practiced more than 30 years. 30 years keeping the mindfulness as my main theme, or diligence as my main theme. Even then, sometimes the mind goes with full tension. The body becomes sick, imbalance, and fear. Under such circumstances, when you go and sit, when the mind comes to the here now I am situation, just like a tightrope walking, I feel it's a great achievement. So therefore, don't try to aim at far away things. Just be happy. Just be contented. Now I am here. I am sitting. So when that happens, as I mentioned, the mind can either go entertaining extrovert or introvert. Extrovert is that you are not happy with this here and now situation, therefore it is always thinking the past and the future, fantasizing, daydreaming, planning and all the kind of things. Please don't assume them as yourself. As one of the writers mentioned, these thoughts are without the thinker. They are just thought without the thinker. Don't worry. It is not of your crime. It is the rut. If you can unassume, if you can see them as just passing cloud in the sky, the clouds never smear the sky. Clouds can't dirt the sky. Sky is something, the cloud is something. Like thoughts are happening. So they will just see, now more than you are here and now sitting, the mind is with thoughts. It's also reality. Nothing artificial, but don't react. But don't assume them. Just see the thought. Sometimes waiting to hear some cracking noise. And thing happen immediately, mind jump out and either complain, find an excuse not to be here and now. Or the bodily pains. You don't feel comfortable, and here and there the little noises, the pains arises. And therefore each and everyone is distracting you from the here and now situation. So the moment you get the continuity of this here and now situation, consider it as a great achievement. And once that happens, if you manage to be with yourself maybe 3-4 minutes, you are going to understand the being. I am sitting, I am being, I am not dead. I am not unconscious. I am not sleepy. I am fully diligent, fully vigilant, fully mindful on here and now. This is the most difficult thing for a human mind. The Buddha gave an example. He says, if you erect a needle upright and going to pour huge amount of sand, handful or big, whatever the amount of sand you are going to pour, nothing will balance on the tip of the needle. Everything will fall down. Exactly the way we have distracted our mind, conditioned our mind, trained to react our mind, it will never balance on the here and now situation. But I am using this term, the words to say, it is a possibility, I would say specifically possible only for human beings. Not a single other being can be aware, be mindful, be diligent on the here and now. So therefore, on top of your balanced sitting, if you can continue these thought moments here, now I am, for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like consecutive thought moments, you are the very person immediately going to know, now my mind is diligent, mindful, vigilant, be aware of here and now. And the very first understanding and aligning and balancing on the here and now situation and the momentum is completely two different stories. As a human being, you are endowed, you have the potential to take the mind to the here and now. That I can demonstrate. But the continuation is a completely different story. If I am to give an example, whenever you are going to balance a push bike, someone can hold the bike and ask you to get up and be just on the bike in the balance way. But to maintain this continuity, the balance, without the help of the second person, is very difficult until you get a certain amount of momentum, until you get a certain amount of trial and error. And once you got the balance, you find what an easy thing. But that is exactly the mindfulness. Standing on the bicycle, push bike, without falling down is just introducing the mindfulness here and now. Here now I am. I mean, you be aware of your sitting posture. And then, without letting mind to be wandering or daydreaming, fantasizing. Without your body to come and titillate you and say, I feel uncomfortable, I have this work and that work. Or outside sounds come and distract. If you can maintain it, in a dramatic way I can say this is the only thought moment you are living. All the other times, all the time you are trying to live. You are in a dream. You are in a hallucination. You are doped. You don't believe that you are in an addiction. But you will understand whenever when the mind comes here and now, then only you will understand how much in an addiction you are. That is, you are robbing on your own time, your own pleasure, your own satisfaction, your own well-being. So that is why whenever you are trying to maintain this upright position of the mind, that's a kind of a noble quest. That's a kind of a noble endurance. And then with so much of trial and error only you will come to know. And when that happens, the being, the sitting, when you are aware, it's a natural phenomenon. You to be aware of the soul. I am not going to teach you about the soul in the Buddhism, but I am telling the breath, the life, the prana. Naturally come. When your mind is otherwise, other directed, you are just ignore about this prana. It's the most primordial, not the primordial, important, but the immediate thing. But you may live sometimes 100 years of the life, never be here and now, never be aware of your breath or your prana. I don't know what is the term you use in Germany for the breath.
Respiration.
Atman. That is the Atma.
Atma.
You are never be with the Atma. You are always concerned outside. So this is bring back to the Atma. That I am not going to introduce you Atma into the Buddhism, but I am telling that this is the central thing. You come back to the central thing. And you feel so disturbed. When I practice in Nilambe as a layperson, there was a cartoon. In the notice board, it says, whenever you see yourself, you will run away telling that you have seen a ghost. This is the time you are bound to see yourself. And you feel completely volatile. You will see that you are completely lost. And ultimately you will open eyes and see whether you are completely existing and the time dimension is there, the space dimension is there. That is how the early part of meditation. That is why the Buddha says, have kind of a faith on the teaching of the Buddha, have kind of moral integrity that to give the psychological background, and then slowly learn this art to keep the mind upright, just like a candle burning. When there are no cross currents, it's upright. When there's a cross currents, the wick is whacking here and there. So our mind is never upright, unless otherwise you take the particular training. That I am telling, it is not moral training. It is not science. It is not physics. It is not chemistry. It is not biology. Everything is nothing but a shake. Nothing but a wave. But bringing back to the mind, first thought moment, if you're going to give no cross current, second thought moment, the mind become upright. It is under no one's control. It's a universal law. So you are the very person distracting it. You are the very person making cross currents, and ultimately mind is in a rut. So whenever it is upright, you feel something like abnormal.
Yes, yeah. That is the thing. When it's upright, you feel abnormal. But that's a merit, no? That's a good thing, no?
That is the human being. That is why Buddha says every human being is mad, lunatic. Every Puthujjana is a lunatic. They are living in topsy-turvy.
But upright is good, no?
That is what you are recognizing. You are not appreciating it. That is why the Dhamma is. You have to bring it first upright is one thing. Practically, second thing is appreciation.
Yeah, appreciation.
So it happened by acquaintance. It happened by listening and practicing and giving this. I mean, when you draw a diagram.
Is that the reason for Kalyana Mitra also?
Yeah.
That is the reason.
Yeah. So that is why we have to slowly introduce it. You can draw a diagram, art, but appreciation is completely different thing.
It's not knowledge, but it's art.
Completely art. It is, you can't go it by science. No rationalization can do it, only by acquaintance. Acquaintance is the proper view, proper knowledge. So therefore, two things important. One thing is to bring the mind up to that balance. Second thing is appreciation.
Appreciating the balance.
Yes. So we sometimes have the balance, but we hate it.
And that's why the Kalyana Mitra is.
So when the Kalyana Mitra comes and says, oh darling, you are lucky, you are endowed, you have this, why don't you entertain this? Then you get endowed. You start to feel the positivity. You start to feel the aesthetic part of the life. You start to entertain your life. You are going to live. Otherwise you are just trying to live. You are planning. You are dislodged. You are not in the present moment.